What's good, ladies and gents? Welcome to the MKO Pugilism Boxing channel, where we talk all things box. Remember to like, subscribe, hit the bell notification, put it on all so you can get notified as soon as we drop any new content on the channel. So today I saw a very interesting interview. I think there's loads of them floating around with Chris Eubank Sr., or English, as he would like to say. My son is, Chris Eubank Sr., one of my favorite characters in boxing, and he was definitely one of the best fighters and characters around during the 90s. One that I grew up watching, and he's now managing, as of not too long ago, his nephew, which is Harlem Eubank. Yeah, he gave this interview where he made a call out of Conor Benn, and he was talking quite disparagingly about promoters, I suppose you could say. Eddie Hearn in this instance, Ben Shalom. It was sort of calling them out, saying, not by name, but saying, the promoters are essentially doing something wrong. This is criminal activity by them putting, because he was asked what he thought about his son Chris Eubank Jr. Fighting Conor Benn December 23rd, and he said, well, this young man Conor Benn, he loves him, and etc. etc. But by him going in there with Eubank Jr. at 160 pounds, that's essentially, it's like a suicide mission. That's not right at all, because they're like, he was saying that, well, they're essentially two weight divisions apart. Eubank's about, his son, should I say, is about 168, 160, whereas Conor Benn is a welterweight. So this is unfair. It's not right. They shouldn't be fighting. And he went on to then say, well, this is who he should be fighting here, this young man here, because he had Harlem Eubank with him. And he said, Conor, I'm calling you out. I'm calling you out to fight Harlem. He is now my son. He is this, he is that. His boxing IQ, his ring IQ is impeccable, etc., etc. And he was really bigging up Harlem Eubank, who is undefeated, who is a decent fighter, is a good fighter. Sort of British level, and he essentially called out Conor Benn to fight his nephew rather than his son. Now, anyone that's seen Conor Benn or knows anything about him will know that, I mean, at least for me personally, I think for most people, that's something that's a bit of a pipe dream. That's something that's not going to happen. I mean, he said Harlem is moving from 140 to 147, so Harlem's coming up to welterweight, and yeah, I suppose weight wise it makes sense, but a guy like Conor Benn is ahead of Harlem Eubank in terms of his career. He's not around British level. I mean, he hasn't cleaned up anything at British title level. He's kind of at fringe world level now, and in all honesty, the thing is, yes, good call out, but respectfully, you can't expect Conor Benn to want to take on your nephew when your nephew doesn't have anywhere near as big a profile as Conor Benn or his son, Chris Eubank Jr. So, as in terms of profile and everything, and what this fight will do for Conor Benn, if he if he's able to pull off a victory against Chris Eubank Jr., that will do absolute wonders for his career, because he's jumping up a couple of weight divisions, and he's taken on a guy that's world level. We saw what Chris Eubank was able to do to Liam Smith. We see Chris Eubank Jr., if nothing else, he's the bigger, stronger guy. So he's the genuine middleweight, as Senior said. So really, in that fight going into it, you've got to make Chris Eubank Jr. a favorite over Conor Benn. So there's jeopardy in it for Conor Benn, but for the most part, the jeopardy and the risk is all really on Chris Eubank Jr.'s side, because he's the bigger man, he's the stronger man, he's the natural middleweight. So he's going in there against a smaller guy. So if he loses, then it's going to be problems. Whereas Conor Benn, essentially, although he won't want to lose, he can afford to lose, because he's the smaller guy, he's the welterweight, he's undersized and everything. So he goes in there at a disadvantage, because he's going to Eubank Jr.'s weight division. However, there was one point I think that Eubank Senior made, which makes some sense, which was that he said when you make those jumps and you go up in weight to, you go up a couple of weight divisions, it's going to be difficult for you to come down. You're probably not going to be able to come down in weight properly, and etc. etc. It might ruin your career, and yeah, I suppose to some degree, yeah, maybe it will. Maybe it will, mean that Ben is never the same again. Who knows? So that he might have a point there where that jump up in weight and then trying to come back down in, if you do it the wrong way, or if you do it immediately, a fight at 160 and then you go straight down to 147, that might take an effect on your body and take a toll on your body and might be a negative impact. You might want to do 154 like he did in his last fight. But yeah, anyway, that's a few of my thoughts there on Chris Eubank Sr. He calls out Conor Benn to fight his nephew Harlem Eubank. I personally think that's a bit of a pipe dream. I don't think that's going to happen because Harlem Eubank hasn't really got anything that Conor Benn wants. And Conor Benn's, I suppose, minor issues are with Eubank Jr. He had a fight scheduled against Eubank Jr. Harlem Eubank is nothing really to do with it. Yes, there's the family name there, but all the sort of money and the income and the intrigue and the fandom and all the attention is on Conor Benn versus Chris Eubank Jr. It's not in the Harlem fight. So I don't see that call out going anywhere. But let me know what you thought about this interview and Chris Eubank calling out Conor Benn to fight his nephew, who he's now calling his son, Harlem Eubank. Let me know your thoughts. Until next time, it's MKO Pugilism over and out.